Hello, so this is lesson 20, and today we're adding some fractions, and we are also showing with visuals how that's working, because the big thing going on here is we have unlike denominators now, which makes it a little harder to add. So we've got a fourth and an eighth, and over here they've drawn a fourth. We can see that's a fourth of the whole tape diagram, and this one is an eighth. And they want us to notice that this 1/4 could also be seen as 2/8. So this is the same as 2/8 plus 1/8 is 3/8. So for B, a fourth and a 12th down here, I've drawn my fourth right here and my 12th. And the idea here is that since I can't add fourths and 12ths, I can make my fourths be 3/12. And the other way to show that is 3/3 gives me 3/12, and then 3/12 plus 1/12 equals 4/12. Okay, 2/6 and a third. I've got my 2/6 over here. And I can make this 1/3 also be 2/6. So we're adding 2/6 and 2/6 and getting 4/6. Interestingly, we could also say that 2/6 is 1/3. So we could do dividing these both by 2 and say this is 1/3. And 2/6 is equal to 1/3, which would equal 2/3, which is equivalent to 4/6, right? Because we could multiply 2 over 2 times 2/3 and get 4/6. A half plus 3/8, we are showing that a half is the same as 4/8 equals 4/8. We add them together and we get 7/8. I should probably put these answers up here. Equals 2/3. Okay, E, we've got 3/10. Got 3/10 on the top. I need to shade that in. 1, 2, 3. And on the bottom, I've got 3/5. 1, 2, 3/5. And we are noticing that 3/5 can be 6/10. We can show it by dividing up these fifths into tenths. And altogether, that is 9/10, because 3 plus 6 is 9. 2/3 and 3/9. I'm sorry, 2/3 and 2/9. I got my 2/9 on the top right here and my 2/3. And we are saying that this 2/3 could be broken into ninths, because we want the denominators to match, right? That's the whole thing about adding or subtracting fractions, is we want the denominators to be the same. So now that I've got my 2/3 times 2 over 3 to be 6/9, and it shows in the picture as well, 6 and 2 is 8/9. So for 2, we're doing the same thing. We just have number lines instead of tape diagrams. And they are also asking us to estimate a little bit to determine if the sum is between 0 and 1 or between 1 and 2. So basically they're saying, well, a half is a half, a fourth is less than a half, and if I add less than a half to a half, my answer is going to come out less than 1, so it's going to be between 0 and 1, right? And they have shown that 1/2 here is equal to 2/4, because 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. So we get 3/4. So for B, let me see, I've already drawn my number line. Here's my jump of a half, 1/2, and I have to go 4 more tenths. And I've also broken this into tenths, like there's 1/10, but I'm gonna start from where the half ended. So I'm going to do my tenths here. 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10. And I can see that I end at 9/10. I can also think about this as 1/2 is the same as 5/10, and 5/10 and 4/10 is 9/10. So I can make my half be 5/10. You get 9/10. 9/10. Okay, here's C. Got 6/10 and a half. So I think I'm going to jump the half first because that's the big jump. That's easy. So there's a half. And then I've broken this into tenths already. I've got 10 jumps. And I know I'm going to go past 1 on this because 6/10 is more than a half. So I forgot about that estimating. Since this is a half is a half, and 6/10 is more than a half, I know my answer is going to be more than 1. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more tenths. 6 more tenths. And it looks like that ends at either 11/10 or 1 1/10. Over here I can say 5/5 gives me 5/10 is the same as a half. Add them up, I get 11/10. Oops, that's too big. 11/10, and that is the same as 10/10 plus 1/10, so 1 1/10. 2/3 plus 3/6. 3/6 is exactly a half. 2/3 is more than a half, so my answer is going to be more than 1. So I've got 6 as my small jumps, thirds are my bigger jumps, so my 2/3, so here's 1/3, 2/3, that is a jump of 2/3, and then I need 3 more sixths, so 1, 2, 3, 6. Looks like I get to 1 1/6, or we could also call this 7/6. So to make 2/3 be sixths, times 2/2, and I get 4/6 plus 3/6 equals 7/6, which is 1 1/6. Okay, moving down to E, got 3/4 and 6/8. So both of these are more than a half. So if I add two things that are more than a half, I'm going to get more than 1 again. So I have my red tick marks doing eighths and my blue tick marks doing fourths. So 3/4 would be 1, 2, 3/4. And then I've got 6/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6/8. And that ends me at 1 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1 4/8. Down here to multiply and show equivalent fractions, I can do times 2/2 to make this be 6/8. 6/8 plus 6/8 equals 12/8. And we can think of 12/8. Write this over here. 12/8. Remember we did this a couple lessons back. That is 8/8 plus 4/8. So we know that it's 1 4/8. So our answer is 12/8 as an improper fraction, and a mixed number is 1 4/8. On to F. We've got 4/10 and 6/5. My bigger blue lines are my fifths, and my smaller little red tick marks are my tenths. So let's see. 4/10 would be 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4/10. And now I'm doing the bigger jumps, 6 of those fifths. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those fifths. So that whole big jump is plus 6/5. 6/5 is more than 1, so we knew off the bat that this answer was going to be more than 1. So where am I? I'm at 1 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tenths. 1 and 6 tenths. Or this could also be called 16 tenths. Down here, I'll do the multiplication. Let's see, 2 over 2 makes this be 12 tenths. 12 tenths plus 4 tenths is 16 tenths equals 16 tenths. 10 tenths is 1 with 6 tenths more, so 1 and 6 tenths. And this last one, they're saying, oh, we don't have to draw a model, so we can just do it the mathematical way, which is a lot simpler, but it is important to understand all these pictures to really get what's going on, because it's kind of simple to get caught up in the multiplying to make equivalent fractions and not understand truly what's happening. So make sure that you understood all those drawings. If any of that went by too fast, go back and take a look. Just like go back a little bit, pause it, and look at those pictures and make sure those make sense. Anyway, 2/3 times 2 over 2 is 4/6 plus that other 4/6 equals 8/6. And of course, 6/6 plus 2/6 is still 8/6, but I can also call that 1 plus 2/6. So this could be 1 and 2/6. We could even simplify and say it's 1 and 1/3. Okay, there you go. There is lesson 20.